Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. A little later on tonight, our old friend, former Senator Ken Gordon. He's got a new political movement, which I'm sure I'm going to hate, so you don't want to miss that. But first, an old friend, Scott Renfroe, senator from R-Greeley. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me today.
How's the new session treating you so far?
You know, they always start out slow with speeches and everything, the wishes and dreams, and then you kind of get in the meat and potatoes. So we're starting to get past that and get into bills and move forward.
Meat and potatoes. So how many free lunches have you gotten lately?
Not too many. Amendment 41.
Let me go over that again. Amendment 41 says you can only have. I can only buy you lunch up to $50.
Anybody that's not a lobbyist. Lobbyist, it's zero.
So a lobbyist who deals with you most of the time can't ever buy you lunch.
Correct.
I can buy you lunch.
And I'd have to record it.
You have to record it.
Up to $50
per year.
Yeah.
So all year. So if I took you to McDonald's, we could go 5 times.
I think so. Yeah.
And that's it.
Correct.
What if I just wanted to go because it's your birthday and I want to hang out with you?
There's special occasions.
So you've got to have a little book of everybody who.
You try.
What a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And
I just try to pay my own way. That way it makes it easy.
Well, you make big bucks down there.
Oh yeah, we do.
Talk about making big bucks.
That's the city of Denver and a lot of municipalities.
Photo radar cameras seem to be the bane of Denver's existence right now. You talk to people, and they are rabidly angry about photo radar. First, tell us exactly, for those who haven't experienced it in other places, photo radar being?
Well, photo radar, there's actually two types. You have photo radar, which is a van on the side of the road that'll take your picture and the speed you were going, and then they send you a picture of yourself and a ticket. And then you have photo red light, which is radar, if you're running a red light, or in Denver, if you touch that white line, you've crossed over into a ticket also.
Which I think I did just the other day, crossing over the red line. But first, let's go back on this. The idea is to make the roads safer. So we have these robo-cops that do it automatically. And I'm told, it's not about revenue. It's not about raising the revenue of any city that uses photo radar or red light cameras. It's about safety, 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 safety. Yeah. It just so happens that you end up spending a lot of money.
Well, that's what they say, and they're very profitable. Let's make no mistake of that. Denver has made a lot of money. They recalibrated things this year, and they're looking on, I think, photo radar to make revenues of $7 million with $2 million profit. That's big business. And
they're going to make $2 million profit
on just the radar.
And they don't have to do anything. That is, they've got machines that do it. Then a person goes through to make sure that it looks right, and then off it goes.
Yeah, that's correct. And the Denver City just did an audit, and I have that with me. And in their audit, the auditor came back and said, we don't have any data that shows that we are safer. You can't prove that, and if we can't, we need to end the audit or end the program. And one thing that we have to be clear with is they are producing some data that shows that crime or that accidents went down, but they did other things at the same time, and so they can't break it out to say it was this or that. They also increased yellow lights at their 4 red light cameras. So you can't tell me if it was the camera or was it the yellow light increase that increased safety. And so they're hiding behind their data, but it's still not accurate. And there's many cities around the country that have looked at it and thrown them out. The biggest thing you look at is when you look at a study, there's studies on both sides. All the studies that are independent, they say that they don't increase safety. The ones done by cities or red light camera companies somehow say that they increase safety.
Shocked, I tell you.
Amazing.
I'm absolutely shocked.
I know.
Economists, because economists refuse to ever be able to have dates, use ridiculous terms. One of them is public choice theory. And the idea is that people will put up with a certain amount of taxation because it's not worth it to them to fight it. They will lose more money fighting whatever the little tax is. So RTD wants to raise our taxes by this penny. All right, I don't have enough money to fight it, but the guys who make the money are going to make gobs of money, and they're happy to put millions into the next tax increase. The same thing is with this, that you get a photo radar ticket, and you want to fight it, but it's a $70 ticket or an $80 ticket, and you're thinking, I got to take off work, I got to go down to these hours to be here, and I'm not certain of the outcome. I'll just pay it. and you really have to want to fight it in order to fight it. And therefore, it's a nuisance tax. It's almost like the lawsuits that are just pay that person off because the cost of litigation will be more than what it costs to pay her. Why don't we change it and just make photo radar infractions, $1,000 fine, and then people come in and fight them all?
Well, either that, or let's take the money and not give it to the cities. Let's put it to a different cause.
Like
if it's about safety, well, put it to our schools. Our schools are needing money. I had one email. That's what he said to me. He said, I hate them. I don't want to pay it, but let's not give the money to the city because I think they're doing it for a profit. If it's really about safety, give the money elsewhere. It's just like when the city of Denver just reduced the fine for the white line violation from 75 to 40. Well, if that's they got their hand caught in the cookie jar, let's refund that money.
Let's explain the white line violation, which sounds like a cocaine reference, but it's not. When you go up to a stop sign, when does the photo radar say you're in the intersection when it's red?
Well, you have a white line and then you have a crosswalk.
Right.
That white line, you're supposed to keep your wheels and car behind that. And if you go over that white line, technically you have made a violation of entering that crosswalk at a red light and they can ticket you. Now the camera, how does it know if you stopped properly and you're making a turn, so then you came forward and then stopped again? It doesn't know. There's a lot of circumstances a camera doesn't know. You can't question your accuser, excuse you, bless you, and you can't question your accuser, say, hey, I did this, and so how do you know? The other secret, obviously, about cameras is the question is, do you really need to pay them? Are they really serving you? So, there's.
Explain that one, because that one's fascinating.
Yeah.
The legislature years ago passed a law that said you don't have to pay your photo radar tickets and your infrared or your red light cameras. You don't have to pay them, except if a cop or someone else comes up and serves it to you.
That's correct.
And then they can charge you not only for the ticket, but for the service.
Yeah.
So again, you're in this situation. All right, do I pay the $60 ticket and be certain that I'm not going to get anything else, or don't pay anything and risk that a cop's going to knock on the door, hand it to me, and all of a sudden it's a $100 or $150 ticket? You're putting citizens in a really awful spot, a lose-lose decision.
I had a lady tell me a story. Her husband put her in a position because a car was registered in her name, and apparently he was driving and got a ticket. And he had her go in with the registration saying, it's my car, and I'm not going to tell you who the driver was because you don't have to tell.
Right.
And so they threw the ticket out. But she was just terrified to have to go do that. I mean, look at what you put them through with that.
You got to have people lying about their spouses and who else.
And the real thing is you can't prove that it increased safety. And that's what this really should be about.
Let's talk about that for a second, because Todd Shepard, our investigative reporter at Independence, did a wonderful review and took a couple of the red light, one of the most profitable intersections, and it had 3 lanes going in one direction. And he looked over the course of a day of how many people violated the red light.
Yeah.
And you'd think they'd be about a third in the lanes who were running the red light. No, something like 70 or 80% was that guy in the right-hand lane.
Really?
Why? Because in order to make a right-hand turn on red, you need to put your nose out to see if there's any oncoming traffic and make the turn.
Yeah.
Was that unsafe? No. Was it against the law? No. Is he getting ticketed for it? Yes.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it's a challenge. There was a study in Texas. They spent 3 years and looked at 180 intersections. Within that, they found if you increased the yellow light by 1 second, you would cut your accidents in half. If you decreased your yellow light by 1 second, then you increased accidents by 50%. So there's a direct corollary when you look at your yellow lights, and that's where we need to be about safety as opposed to taking pictures of people with the cameras. And you can do it with engineering.
All right, now you're a mean, awful Republican. You want to starve the city and county government of millions of dollars. We understand that. Are there some, though, on the other side who look at this also from a privacy standpoint?
Yes, there are.
The idea that, you mentioned the wife's car was registered and the picture was of her husband, but if it was of her husband and their next door neighbor who's a cute young 20-something, maybe she wouldn't be so happy.
That's true.
Is that government's job to be delivering photographs of who's been in your car?
Well, the Supreme Court, or actually the Court of Appeals, has said that you don't have a right to privacy on a public road in your car. So there is that, even though I do believe, I think it's Big Brother looking at you, and it goes a little too far. When the bill went into effect 10 years ago or whenever it was, the police chief of Fort Collins came and testified that they weren't giving out the pictures because they had a man that was pictured with his girlfriend, and the picture went home and his wife got it, and it caused all sorts of problems. So they stopped giving the pictures. Now we changed the law that you have to send the picture. But
why do you have to send the picture?
That's what we put into statute years ago when they were wrestling with this issue to allow the cameras.
And also to say this wasn't me.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
basically, if you're driving with your mistress, have your mistress drive the car that's not registered to her. That way, when it goes to,
There you go.
all right. What are the prospects of this becoming law? First of all, you've got a bill. Tell me about the bill, and then let's talk about the prospects.
We have a bill that will go to Senate Transportation Committee, I think, on the 14th of February. So a nice Valentine's Day present for your girlfriend or whoever, if this were to go into effect and we were to get rid of these. Obviously, it'll be an uphill road with the Democrats in control of the Senate, but hopefully it's not a partisan issue.
Why would it be a partisan issue? I mean, the state gets no money from this scam. Is that right?
No, they don't.
They
As
get
far
none.
as I know, we don't get anything.
All right,
We haven't
so-
got the fiscal note yet, so we'll see, but I'm pretty sure we don't.
All right. So really, this is about the cities
Yeah.
who are enjoying this for
Yes.
safety. For safety, they're enjoying this. Who's lobbying against this other than the cities?
So far, that's it. The Municipal League.
The Municipal League. How many cities actually use this?
Is there 7 or 8 in Colorado, I think? And Colorado Springs just went the other direction and said no. There are many cities around the country that have done that also and decided not to. But this is an issue of statewide concern. Our courts have said that we have authority over our transportation and roadways. The auditor of Denver, in his report, that was his first thing. Yes, the state has control of the roads and has the authority to do this, even for home rule cities. So it is a statewide control, a statewide concern issue, and so that's one of the reasons. Because I love local control, but I think it's been abused, and it's shown that at the local level, and we need to make a statewide regulation on it. And that's
What
why
about
we're
the
doing this.
representatives and the senators from those areas? I've got to think that they're torn. Their city wants it, but I'm certain since the people they represent are the ones getting hammered with
That's
these.
exactly right. I mean, how are we ruled? Or is it the consent of the governed? Are we here for the people, or are we here for the government? I think is a big question to ask those legislators, especially the Denver ones in the Senate that are on this committee, is where do you fall? I think I have about 700 emails right now.
ACLU on your side on this one?
I haven't talked to them, but they have supported this in the past.
Amazingly. Republicans
that
and
makes me-
ACLU sleeping together.
that makes me think
Cats
twice.
and dogs. Scott, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. There's very few men I miss less in elected office than this man right here. Ken Gordon, former state senator. Glad to have you.
I think it's going to be fun. Maybe.
Yeah,
We'll
maybe.
see.
I'm
We'll
just
see. Okay,
glad.
all right.
I'm glad you're out of power. It's a good thing. So you've been sprung now. You've been a free man since about 2009.
Yes. Well, I haven't been in the legislature. I still have a girlfriend.
You miss it? You still have the same girlfriend?
Yes.
God, it's amazing what the visually impaired can put up with. The what? You miss it?
The parking spot.
The parking spot?
Yeah.
It's a good parking spot. Anyway, you not being content to make my life miserable even out of office, started a new organization, a new idea. It's
Right.
cleanslatenow.org. And I've come to know that anything that has the word now in its domain name is a bad and evil organization. So
Right.
tell me
Well,
what it is.
As a conservative, I'm sure you're upset with anything that might cause change, right?
No, I like change.
Okay.
I like lots of good change.
You want to know what cleanslatenow.org is?
Not really. I thought we could end it right there.
Well, I'll tell you anyway.
All right.
All right. Because of the huge amount of money that goes into political campaigns, both as contributions and now because of Citizens United independent expenditures, the whole democracy is being slanted towards wealth and wealthy interest groups, and individual human beings are losing their political voice. The Declaration of Independence said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights." Well, it didn't say anything about corporations being endowed with rights, and it didn't say anything about corporations being created equal. And the Supreme Court has given rights to corporations and unions and ideological groups, and it just is advantaging wealth too much. And if you want to have political equality so that your vote and my vote count the same, we both have some influence over who we elect, if you want some political equality, you have to have some barriers between the economic inequality that we have in this country, the vast concentrations of wealth, and politics. And right now there are no barriers. And so what we're doing is we're supporting candidates who agree not to take special interest campaign contributions.
What do you consider special interest campaign contributions?
Anything that doesn't come from an individual human being. So it's including unions and corporations and environmental groups and business
I'm
groups.
running for office and I'm good on guns, and the NRA wants to send me a check. You wouldn't support me because that.
No, I wouldn't support you, but I don't have a problem if the NRA wants to say, we support Jon, and we recommend to the people that believe in Second Amendment rights to vote for him.
It's
and
the
if you want
check you don't want.
It's the money.
Well, let me get to the political realities, though. Candidates no longer run their own elections. It seems as though, thanks to campaign contribution restrictions largely, the power that a candidate has been given away from themselves, even the party that they work with, to 527s and anonymous donor groups and other outside entities. Those hit pieces you hear, those great cards you get that shows that Ken Gordon was a pedophile and voted for a bill that would outlaw milk.
I was acquitted, by the way.
Well, there's still some questions. It was that hung jury. But those ads don't come out from your opponent. They usually come out from a group that is sympathetic to your opponent but has no coordination. So why say I'm not going to take that money when you know that the money's just going to go roundabout?
Well, this is actually something the Supreme Court said that might have some merit. They said that if I say you're running for office and I give you a lot of money for your campaign, there's kind of a thought that you might feel gratitude for that. And later when I say, Jon, want to tell you how I feel about this bill that's coming up, you might listen to me more than you would listen to someone that hadn't given you that money. So that's one of the concerns about a direct contribution to a campaign. And it's possible that there's a marginally less amount of influence if I just ran an ad without calling you or talking to you saying, vote for Jon Caldara. That's what the Supreme Court said. I'm opposed to the unlimited independent expenditures as well as the corporate or influence special interest group contributions. But
aren't those contributions like water running downstream, that you can dam it up on this side and say no contributions to the candidates? Doesn't it then just build up and pop out in some other way where there's less control and accountability? I feel badly for the candidates that have somebody on their behalf putting out an ad that might ruin them. Some of these ads backfire and makes the candidate look like a mean guy, and negative ads sometimes, not always, sometimes have a reverse effect. Isn't this going to just then push more money to unaccountable? At least with when the candidate does it, you can point your finger out and say, why did you say your opponent did this when he obviously didn't? Instead, he has to say, "Oh, well, it wasn't me. I had nothing to do with it."
See, this is how I ran my campaigns, and this is what I recommend to other candidates. You talk to the people in your district a lot. If it's a state legislative race, you can walk door to door. You can have town meetings. They can get to know you, and you can get to know them. And then you can raise money from individual contributions from people that say, "I think that guy's a good guy, and I share his values, and I'm going to vote for him or her."
Did you take any corporate money when you were running?
No, I didn't take PAC money.
That's because corporations hate you. They wouldn't give it to you anyway.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I actually turned back checks. I sent them back. Yeah, when I first ran, I was concerned about protecting the environment in Colorado, and I looked at a legislature that had a lot of money coming from resource extractors like mining, oil and gas, real estate developers.
The good guys.
And and I said, they may be good guys, and I'm not against any of those guys. We need all of that, but I wanted to also have protection for the environment, and I didn't want it to all be slanted towards the resource extractors. And I said the way we finance campaigns is going to make it hard for this legislature to protect the environment. We need to change that. And so I didn't take money from interest groups, even environmental interest groups, because I thought it wasn't where the money was coming that was wrong, but the whole system of funding campaigns from groups that have money and are trying to buy influence. That was what I was against. And when I got to the legislature, I found that the money didn't just influence environmental issues, it influenced education, healthcare, transportation, everything else too. So in my view, it's not democratic. We should have people's votes count more than people's bank accounts.
Well, talk to me a little bit about the mechanics of CleanSlateNow.org. So is this going to be a PAC? Is it something that people can donate to?
Yes, people can donate to CleanSlateNow.org.
And are you going to bundle up the money and then hand it to somebody? What does it work?
First, it is ironic. I admit the irony, and you would be the first to see it. We're the anti-PAC PAC. Yes, what we're going to do is we're probably not going to make any contributions to candidates, but we're going to use volunteers, walk door to door in a candidate's race, have a piece of campaign literature that's not from the candidate's campaign, but from Clean Slate Now, that says something like, money in politics is a big problem. A good way to start to reduce the influence of money in politics is to elect candidates who don't take special interest group campaign contributions. There's one running in your district. You can actually have some effect on this. Vote for, and then.
So do you see this PAC that you're setting up as a financial means to support candidates, or as a volunteer means to help them? And I can't imagine that people who are into this are going to be willing to walk for a Republican who takes no corporate money than a Democrat. Would I be right?
We're supporting Republicans and Democrats if they agree not to take
Will they actually come out and work as hard?
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah, and I'm against the money-driven system, and I'm not, and I think it's a problem in the Democratic Party as well as the Republican Party. And so there's on our website we have about 15 candidates. I think 5 of them are Republicans.
But again, using that water flowing downstream.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
How do you want to stop the other parts? I mean, I can't imagine. Let's use those evil guys, the people who extracted things from Colorado to give us wonderful things like what we're sitting on, and they're not allowed to give it to you. So they're just going to give it to a 527 or do their own advertising on your behalf. Are you going to try to stop them as well? If you could have the magic wand, what would it look like?
Excuse me, if I had a magic wand, I'd have one of the members of the Citizens United majority decide that he wanted to spend more quality time with his family and retire, and have somebody appointed to the Supreme Court who didn't agree with the majority and agreed with the minority, and then we could not have the Supreme Court saying that corporations.
That one little change. So is this all about that Supreme Court decision?
No. That's one.
Right.
That's the independent expenditure side. Then I would have candidates decide voluntarily to run without taking special interest money, so they can really not have a conflict of interest between their constituents and what they want and their contributors and what they want. Right now there's a conflict of interest.
If you're a candidate, it sounds very tempting to do that, but if you're in a tight race and it becomes real, didn't Speaker Romanoff, when he was running for the Senate, didn't he say he wasn't going to take that money, and then at the end, I believe, and I could be really wrong, so if Andrew, if I got this wrong,
no,
I apologize.
Never took it. He never took it.
All right, but there have been candidates who said this, and then they haven't. Presidential candidates do it all the time, matching funds.
Let me give you an example. I ran for the Colorado House in Jeff Shoemaker's seat, a Republican seat, and I won that seat without taking PAC contributions by telling people, look, I'm not taking money in this race. I want to represent you. I want to change the money-driven system.
Yeah, but that was,
let me finish.
That was back in 1927 when money didn't have as much influence, and you could have a campaign of $300.
I think the mood of the people right now is against the money. I think that if a candidate had the guts to go out there and say, look, I'm not going to take this special interest money. I want to represent you, and how do you feel about that? They would find a lot of support in people out there right now. If you do polling, the people don't like Citizens United. They say by a 2-to-1 margin that the way a candidate reacts towards big money is going to have an effect on their vote. This was just in a poll that came out a couple days ago. So I think we're at a place where the people they're mad. You know they're mad. I mean, they're mad on both sides of the political spectrum. And one of the things they're mad about is the fact that they feel like they've lost control to big money.
All right, let me play the other game. I run in a race against somebody like, I don't know, Pat Stryker or Tim Gill, somebody who's got a serious wallet. All right, now Pat Stryker doesn't need to take a dime from anybody. She's inherited her wealth. She is worth, what, $1.5 billion. This is a lot of money. I need the money to compete. She can drop million after million after million after million, and it's all legal. There's no limit on what your own money can be. How do I even that up?
Well, you see, I don't agree with the Supreme Court decision that said money is speech. That's the 1976 Buckley versus Vallejo. And if money isn't speech, we could put limits on how much is spent in campaigns, spending limits.
So
even somebody's own money.
So right now, though, she can hire people to.
Right
she can
now.
hire one person to go to each house and stay there until they agree to vote for her. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, you know what I heard recently? That the oil industry, it may have just been Exxon, I think just Exxon, spent $500,000 per member of Congress in lobbying and campaign contributions in the last couple of years.
And your ideas doesn't change lobbying. They could still spend all that money in lobbying.
Right.
Just not.
Right. But what I'm saying is, the money has gotten to be a huge problem, and here's one solution. I think it'll work, because I did it myself. Support candidates who don't take special interest money. Their values are going to be more in tune with the people in their district than big contributors.
20 seconds left. People want to get involved, want to help you. I hope they don't. But when they do, where do they go? What do they do?
They go to cleanslatenow.org, and they sign up to be on our email list. They can sign up to be a volunteer. They can read some of the blog entries. They can make a campaign. They can make a donation.
Ken, it's always good. I tell you, I love you and hate you at the same time. How is that possible? Listen for me on 6:30 KHOW. That's Sunday nights at 5, and we'll talk to you soon.